Ever felt like an imposter in your own life? You are not alone, my friend. Join us as we dive deep into strategies that can help you defeat those doubts once and for all. You see, the greatest enemy to succeed isn't failure, it's the fear within our own minds. Today, we equip you with the tools to conquer that fear once and for all. You see, the real truth, as I learned over my lifetime traveling the world on my mission to end poverty, sex trafficking, and organ trafficking during my lifetime, I want to be one of those guys. But you see, the truth that the mental battle in our heads, it never stops. I often ask this question to very wealthy people, athletes, celebrities, CEOs, and many people that I had the honor to mentor and helping them grow their companies. But you see, even when you become whatever that desire is that you like to become, the insecurities, the comparisons, the fears, the anxiety, and the rest of the scrap that we all battle for so many years, especially since COVID. Don't you agree? You see, the truth that no one will tell you before they sell you the sizzle, getting you into the coaching programs, is that it never goes away. You become better at dealing with. When I often ask my billionaire friends, what does it feel like to being a billionaire or getting your first 1 million likes and views and whatever? They tell me, Carlos, is just another zero or comma. Everything is still there. So today, I label this show the final battle, confronting mental health and defeating the imposter syndrome in business and life with one of my good friends. It's a friend of mine, it's a client of mine, Dr. Jamil Sayegh, an international spiritual wisdom teacher, energy healer, life transformation coach, integrative naturopathic physician, and the host of the Transformation Starts Today podcast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the stage, Dr. Jamil Sayegh. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing so well, Carlos. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to everyone who's tuning in live and watching the recording. Really appreciate you.
Yes, man. I was just talking to Jamil. Today we're doing something different over here. We are live early morning for my live viewers. As you guys know, we are launching a podcast every Monday. At what time? 7:17 a.m. Pacific time at the CarlosInspireShow.com. And then for my folks that love watching live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to be having live segments like this. You guys can ask questions for the folks that are joining live. And you guys know the drill, like, subscribe. And today, this is going to be such a great show, guys, because a lot of people out there, they are suffering from this. You'll be surprised. So many people. You guys watch on TV, on Netflix, you listen to their songs, you watch them play sports. Many of them are my clients. And you'd be surprised when they leave that field, the battle still continues at home. That's the stuff that none of us talks about it. And these affects performance, affects corporate CEOs listening to me right now, your sales metrics, customer service, team synchronization. So today we're going to have a very good talk here with Dr. Jamil. And Dr. Jamil, before we get there, as we have a show loaded with awesomeness here, can you share your journey and what led you to focus on mental health and life transformation in the corporate and entrepreneurial spaces?
Yeah, Carlos, I'd be happy to. I'll share a abridged version because I could take an hour for this. So I'll give you the brief version. But my story really began when I was 19 years old. And I want to preface this actually. I want our listeners to listen to this story, not just as it's about me. I want you to listen to it about you. I want you to listen to it from the perspective of how could this apply to my life right now so you can get immense value from this story. So I'm 19 years old. I'm a sophomore in my undergraduate in New York City in college. And I was part of this pre-med group. And the pre-med group said every year we have to go to the capital, Albany. We have to fight to keep our funding. We bring some students who are getting some value from the program to share their experience. Would you be one of the students? And I said, sure, I'd be happy to. This is around Tuesday. So Tuesday night rolls around and I start getting this intuition speaking to me. Something's not right. Don't go. And I didn't know why. So I ignored it, like most of us do when we get that type of intuition. So then Wednesday rolls around. It's even louder. Something's not right. Don't go. I continue to ignore it. Thursday, my intuition's yelling at me. Something's not right. Don't go. And up until that point, I was ignoring it, and it got so strong. I said, I have to listen to this. So I sent an email out. Something came up. I can't make it. And we were going to leave Friday morning, come back Sunday night. So Friday, the group leaves. I'm there. It's a regular day. Saturday, regular day. Saturday night, I'm sitting there thinking, well, maybe I should have went. I had nothing really came up. Sunday morning, my entire life changed. Sunday morning, shortly after I woke up, my father had a brain aneurysm. And for anyone who's not familiar with what that is, think of a blood vessel in the brain like a tube. It starts to balloon out. And if you're fortunate, you have one of the worst headaches of your life, you go to the hospital, hopefully they take care of you, you're okay, and you can leave. My father wasn't as fortunate. His brain aneurysm ruptured, and he was in a 4-hour brain surgery with less than a 5% survival chance. I would not have been home if I was with that group. And I was home, and I broke a door down to get him out. And if I wasn't home, he would have died. So as a quick pause there, check in with yourself. Where is my spirit, my heart, my intuition, my gut feeling, whatever you want to call that? Where is it nudging you in a certain direction? Where is it giving you a message that you're ignoring? And so there I was. I listened to it. Dad's out. He's in the hospital right now. We're in this 4-hour brain surgery. And I'm being told less than 5% survival chance, and he's very likely not going to make it. And all I'm doing is praying and being there with my family and doing everything I can to be supportive. 4 hours go by. He survived the brain surgery. And I walked into that room, and I was told he was in this hypercritical space. He could die at any moment, and they had no idea what was going to happen. And in that moment, there's only two things that were present for me. The first was a sense of helplessness. I felt like I really couldn't do anything. And the second sense, which is the foundation of why I do what I do now, was there's this immense sense of regret. And the regret came from the belief or the feeling that I took my relationship with my dad for granted, that I didn't know him to the degree that I could have. At the time, I was 19, he was 49. My mindset was around sports. I was a track athlete. It was my friends. It was movies. It was video games. It was not, let me get to know my father man to man, soul to soul. That wasn't where my head was at. And so now in that moment, it felt like I blew it. I wasn't going to have that opportunity again. And fast forward, I had 3 years before my dad did pass away. And in those 3 years, I took several years off after college to be one of his primary caregivers. And I got to spend 10 to 15 hours a day with him. And we got to help him get back to as close as possible to who he was before the brain aneurysm. And I had some of my highest highs and my lowest lows. I had moments where my prayers were answered, moments where, well, the moments where we were laughing, we were doing everything together. I sing, he sings, we're doing music, physical therapy together, everything. And he became one of my best friends. And I really got to know him. And at the same time, I had some of my lowest lows, moments where he almost died in my arms, probably a couple hundred times in those 3 years. He had 5-minute seizures where I'm holding this 200-plus-pound guy and my phone's across the room and I had no idea what to do. Moments where he had memory issues and he forgot who I was. And I recognized in that moment, here's another lesson for everybody, the value of this moment, the miracle of life, the miracle of today. You woke up today. Statistically, between 150, 180,000 people a day rather, don't wake up. If you woke up today, you weren't one of them. If you have family that woke up today, some or all that you really care about, they woke up, you hit the jackpot, the lotto right from the get-go. And yet so many times we wake up and we think something out of the ordinary has to happen in order for us to feel happy and grateful and fulfilled and satisfied and all these things. And so in those 3 years, there was this realization, Dad's alive right now. He might not be here tomorrow. He might not even be here later today. So let me be as fully present as possible. And then I realized, well, that's not just true for my dad. That's true for my mom, for my sister, for my friends, and for myself. So every interaction, right now I get to be on this show with you and your audience. This could be the last show I ever do. So why would I hold anything back?
Yes.
You know, the next time you're with your spouse, if you have one, the next time you're with your kids, if you have any, the next time you're presenting, you're doing anything. What if this, I ask my clients this all the time. What if this was the last time? Would it change the way you show up if this was the last time you were going to be with your partner, the last time of intimacy, the last meal you were going to eat, the last sunset you were going to see? Would that change anything? And I promise you the answer is yes. And so in those 3 years, I had this realization and I started recognizing the magic of right now. And I started being as fully present. I got one of the best compliments I've ever gotten I'm known for my hugs. And so I have a cousin, I gave her a hug, and she said to me, I love your hugs. Every time you hug me, I feel like you're never going to see me again. And that hit me right in the heart because I realized that's what I was going for, but I didn't put the words to it like that. Now, quick preface, because I didn't bring this part up. I've been in the coaching industry since I was 14 years old. I didn't call it coaching because I didn't know that was a thing. I called it helping. And I help people with their health and their relationships and their mindset. At 14, I was helping mediate relationships with people in their 30s and 40s. They didn't get a divorce, they told me, because of what we did. People turning around their health with things that I was learning about at 14 because I was passionate about it. Library, YouTube, books, whatever I can get my hands on, mentors. I was just learning whatever I could. And then started studying spirituality around 17. My dad's experience happened with me when I was 19. And during those 3 years, as I begin to wrap up the story, 2 of my cousins passed away. One was 20 and one was 21. And if you had asked either of those guys when they were 18, tell me about your goals, your dreams, the kind of life you want to live, I promise you neither guy would say I'd be dead in less than 2 to 3 years. And so with that in mind, we come from this almost like delusion of I have time. And as a result of that, we procrastinate. We put our dreams and our goals off and we don't take the action now, usually out of fear, because we delude ourselves into thinking we have time. I hope you do, but you might not. If I asked everyone listening right now, how much time do you have left? We all have the exact same answer. I don't know. And so because you don't know, what are you doing with this moment that you're given right now, with this miracle, this present moment, this gift that you're given? So at the end of the 3 years, my dad passed away. And I remember being at his wake. It was 5 hours. Over 7,000 people came. And I shook every single person's hand. Almost everyone said, your dad saved my life. And I was deeply humbled by that. But here's another moment for you to take in. I had this realization, this aha moment, that I'd been playing small, that I was afraid of rejection, that I cared way too much about what people thought about me. And as a result of that, I was holding back. I was dimming my shine. One of my top 3 favorite words is enthusiasm. And it comes from antetheos or entheos. It means the God within. And when you radiate enthusiastically, you're radiating that divine spark that is you. And most of us, we wear the mask. And the mask is, who do I need to be loved, to be accepted, to be validated, to be normal, to be accepted into the group? The problem is when you play that game and you think, they like me, they don't even know you. They know who you're pretending to be. And this also will feed into the imposter syndrome conversation later. But they know who you're pretending to be. They don't know you. And so if you have the courage, take the mask off, that's the only way to create that life that actually fulfills you. And so after my dad's passing, after that wake experience, I made a decision. I'm done with playing small. I made a decision that I'm going to shine my light. I'm going to be myself as fully as I possibly can. And over time, when I know better, I'll do better. When I'm able to get to that next level, more is revealed to me. Hey, this is where you can step into yourself more. Then I'm going to do that. Went to medical school after that, spent 5 years over there in Arizona, continued my coaching business, brought in energy work and healing components, really supporting people create literal miracles in their life where brains are healing and tumors are going away and all these things are happening and things I didn't even believe in when I was younger. And now my whole mindset's been expanded. So whether it's business or relationship or mindset or spirituality or energy, whatever it is that I can do to support people, similar to yourself, Carlos, I love people. I love seeing people thrive. Anything I can do to support them on their journey, it's what I'm here for. And so that's
what a beautiful, beautiful answer. And wow, I often talking about within every single one of us, that is a force of good, a force of God that we can do so much. And that's why I labeled the show The Final Battle, because I really want you guys to take this show and save it, download it, take notes, use the AI, do whatever you have to do, and have these notes, man. The things that we are talking about over here, because at the end of the day, imagine if you're just asking that question, right? How would I show up right now if this would be the last podcast interview of my life? How would I show up if this is the last post, the last video, the last short, the last reel? You guys see me all the time encouraging you guys to post and put your videos out there. And really, you want to be happy for the rest of your life? You give zero damns about what they think about you. That's the true secret, guys. Like I told you guys at the beginning here, that's no secret. The anxiety and the fears, they're always there. They minimize over time, but they never go away. New levels, new devils. And I love what you say, Jamil, because we think that, and especially a lot of the younger generation, I love you guys, and you guys think you guys, I speak in a lot of colleges, and I tell you guys, man, we don't know tomorrow. I lost so many family members and loved ones because of COVID this past couple of years. I got a large family. My mother has 12 brothers and sisters. My wife has a whole bunch, hundreds of cousins, just more stuff gonna happen. One day you get a great news, the next day somebody died, somebody was kidnapped, somebody attempt to kidnap your mom. You guys know me talking about some of those things over the last couple of years. It's like new levels, new devils, and I'll also take this moment over here to encourage a lot of you out there, moms and dads and CEOs, to really make sure that you take care business now, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Make sure that you have every single thing in place. Have your trust set up, have your wheels set up, have everything. So when you die, nothing's left for chance. I did a powerful post earlier today, Jamil. We use this moment over here to tell you guys about something that the system, the governments, they don't want you guys to know those things. Who you think owns all those things that they've been preaching for years? Oh, go ahead, get your 401k, your Roth, go to church, do this, do that. See, the system, why do you think 1% of the population controls 63% of the wealth? You see, they control the media. They control everything. They've been telling you, oh, go put your money in the bank, act like it's safe. No, you take control of your family. You take control of your actions. Whatever, if you're battling right now with money and mental health and a problem in your marriage, you reach out to people like Jamil. You reach out to people like myself that can literally give you a free wealth strategy session that would change the game for you. The things that we talk about, people charge $3-5 grand for an hour. I want to make sure that if you deal with this once and for all and have that tough conversation right now. Deal with it, because one conversation with an individual like Jamil, like myself, can change the game for you, your family, your business, because tomorrow isn't here. And then whatever that time is, 50 minutes, 30 minutes, imagine if you got one insight. Many of you guys, I bet you're listening here to me, probably don't even have a wheel set up. What if I tell you, if you get on a strategy session, you get a $3,000 free wheel gift from me just by listening? So this way, when you pass, when you're no longer here, now you have your stuff set up. Now you can do what the Rockefellers and the wealthiest families have done. They transfer their wealth. They insured every member in their family, where they became the bank. And now their wealth transfer from member to member to member. Why you think they have a much bigger purchasing buying power than most people? And that's why they control 63% of the wealth. Just a little plug over here to get you guys to think about some of these things. And Jamil, my friend, as we dive deep in here, let's understand the battle, right? It's a big piece of the puzzle in the chess game, is understanding the battle. Why do you think mental health challenges like anxiety and specifically imposter syndrome that I've seen so much in corporate America, where I do a lot of workshops, sales trainings and whatnot, are so prevalent among high performance and leaders today?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Yeah. And so I'd be happy to share. And I think that this is a massive conversation, right? So I'm going to keep my answer as aligned with imposter syndrome as possible, but I think there's so many nuances to it. So as a preface, so I think that we live in a world right now, specifically in like Western culture, but I'd imagine it's pretty much all over, that when you think of social media and what that has done, on the one hand, a lot of positives to it, but it's also created more than ever a lot of comparison. And so we compare ourselves to where we're at and where we are now to where somebody else is. And then we don't know. There's a quote I heard years ago. It's like, don't compare your behind the scenes to somebody else's main event. Like, you don't know what's going on in their world. You just see what they show. And then we compare it to ourselves, and we step into this underlying belief that I find so many people that I work with, at their core, there's some belief of a lack of worthiness, or not feeling good enough, or not feeling lovable, or something like that, that started when they were a child. And here they are in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I've had people starting off, and I've had 9-figure clients, and everywhere in between. And when you think about even the 9-figure people, they have this, I'm not good enough, I don't matter, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, at their foundation unconsciously, that's sabotaging so much of the way they live their life. And so at first, I think there's this comparison, because almost all of us, we don't know who we are. And this is what I mean. I make a distinction with my clients. There's who I am, and there's who I'm being. Now, depending on your culture, your religion, your philosophy, your spirituality, wherever you're from in the world, you may call this different things, but just to give a couple names, who you are is a piece of life. Who you are is a child of God. Who you are is soul, spirit, whatever you want to call that consciousness, that is whole, perfect, and complete. Cannot be improved upon. That's who you are. And then there's who you're being. Who you're being is moment to moment to moment. So who I am, whole, perfect, and complete. Who I'm being could likely be a lot better. And so if I can ground myself in who I am first, then I can, I'm thinking about a result that I want in business, in relationship, in health. Now, why don't I have the result? You could say, I don't have the result because I'm not good enough yet to get that result. But it's not that I'm not good enough, period, like as a soul. It's I'm not good enough to get that result yet. I haven't cultivated this skill. I haven't trained it. I'm not there yet. I don't know what I don't know. But so many of us, because we forget who we are, we identify with the things that change. We identify with our reputation. We identify with our accolades, our bank balance, our material possessions. And we think because that's me, I have to maintain that image. And so often we also didn't even choose that lifestyle. What I mean by that is most of us aren't living the life that's authentic and aligned with who we are. We're living the life that we believe we should be living based on culture and society and family and what you see online. So you see people, I'll give you an example. There's a old adage, fake it till you make it. I don't resonate with that at all because to me that's very inauthentic. I come from be it until you see it.
Yeah.
Very different way of living. So now what came to mind when I just said that though is fake it till you make it. You're scrolling on Instagram and then you see this photo of this guy or this girl. They're in like a private jet and they're giving you a little like video. But then somebody made a video about that person and they zoomed out and they're in like a storage unit that somebody paid a ton of money to look like they're in a private jet. Why would somebody do that? They would do that because they believe have to appear a certain way in order to even be seen as credible or important or something like that, not realizing they already are important. And so the most authentic thing you can be is yourself. I remember hearing Gary Vee years ago. Somebody was like 19 years old. And Gary goes, well, what do you want to do? And the guy goes, I want to be a motivational speaker. And he goes, I want to charge all this money and I want to get flown around the world and do all these things. And Gary said, well, what have you done so far? And the guy's like, well, I'm just starting. I haven't done anything. And Gary told him, so can I be honest with you? And the guy goes, yeah. And he goes, nobody who's watching this video believes you're a motivational speaker. And so you can try to fake it, or you can just document the process over the next 20 years of becoming a motivational speaker. And 20 years from now, you'll have such a solid foundation that you are it. But why are you trying to come across like you're it now? So like someone like yourself, Carlos, you've been through so much. You've been on all these stages. You've helped all these people. You've got the foundation, the story, the credibility to back up what you say. But somebody who's 17 who's going to try to say they do what you do, they can't do that. Like that doesn't work that way. And so to bring it all front and center, I think we have imposter syndrome because deep down we forget who we are. We believe at some level that we're not good enough as we are. We have to put the mask on to be more than we actually are. And then you couple it with, we look at other people's expectations of us, we take it on, and we say, I guess that's what I need to be successful. I fall into the trap of, I'll be happy when, I'll be good enough when, I'll be successful when. So you get the person who makes 5 figures, and they think when I make 7, then I'll finally be successful. Then they make 7 and they feel like there's a void still there. And like you said, your people you've worked with, people that you know, it's just another 0. It's just another comma. It's not going to make that big of a difference, at least for you. And so if you come from that space, how can I slow down and check in? Look at myself in the mirror. What comes up when I look myself in the mirror? Is it a full alignment? I am so proud of you. I love you. You're doing amazing. Look how far you've come. Keep going. Or is it, what are you doing? This is not the life that you signed up for. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. You hate what you're doing. Why do you keep showing up for it? And then you've got all these stories to justify why to keep it going. And so imposter syndrome is interesting to me because on the one hand, again, to wrap it up, if I identify with who I am, and then I build on top of it I've got a certain level of skill set right now. Then I'm fine with saying, I am not good enough yet to create this result. It's got nothing to do with me personally. It's just my professional side. I can develop that. But if you forget who you are, then you're just not good enough. And now at that point, you spend your whole life trying to fix that. And it's like wearing glasses that are really big and you can't see the rim. And you look around the whole world trying to find your glasses, but you don't know they're on your face because you can't see the border. In that same way, you're spending your whole life trying to be good enough. You already are. And because you don't recognize it, you're never going to find it.
So true, my friend. It's so true. As you were talking here, Jamil, I was just like, reflecting. And I so wish I had the money when I was a kid selling bread on the streets, to be filming those things. Thank God I've been documenting, things since I was like 18, as I, came into America, and then, been documenting since MySpace for 20 plus years now, documenting the wins, the losses, the struggle. And it's so true. We pound on ourselves so much. You get the big house, and then you get your dream car, then you get a bigger house, then you get an island in the Amazon, and you have thousands of acres, and then somebody goes and tries to kidnap one of your loved ones, and you're like, what the heck? And now, and you're like, whoa, I didn't plan about that part. Or you get there to that goal, $1 million, $10 million, $50 million, $100 million. Oh wow, man, can I become a billionaire? And then, but you forget about the responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah.
You forget about, and you look in the mirror now, people die in my family. My stepfather was murdered because of farm dealings when I was young. So it's like everything is a price, and then you guys have to check him in. And that's why I call this episode The Final Battle. This message is more important than ever, my friends. You guys over here listening to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you got to pause it. You got to look in the mirror and just pat yourself in the back. You survive 100% of your worst days. If you woke up today and you kiss your family, even if you don't have a family, if you look in the mirror, give yourself a smile. You have greatness within you. You keep it going. And if you're not happy doing what you're doing now, just get yourself an exit strategy. Learn a new skill set. Reach out to people like Jamil, myself. Deal with those demons so that you can truly be in alignment to who you are, who you wanted to be. We live in an era that is so easy, guys. Right now, you can start doing videos every day organically for free without spending money on advertising, and getting 500 views on every short on YouTube. My biggest mistakes is the videos that I've been doing over the years was not doing them on YouTube every day. Biggest mistake that I regret. I was always on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, but never consistent on YouTube. And YouTube is the biggest search engine in the planet after Google. Everybody goes on YouTube first. 3 billion people are not even online yet out of the 7 plus out there. Just think about that for a second. 3 billion, not even online. Think about what you guys are selling, your superpowers. What do you help people overcome? Imagine if you start doing videos now and you say no to the imposter syndrome, and you say no to the crap that cripple our mind and us from clicking that post button and unleashing your greatness out there. Imagining getting 500 free views per day on YouTube every day. Even if you take a few days off, that 10 plus thousand views per month on YouTube, 120,000 views in 10 months, 150,000 views in a year, 1.5 million views in 10 years. Don't you think that will compound? Don't you think that out of those thousands and thousands of views, a few people gonna come and buy your course, enroll into your membership? What if you do a membership for $100? As you get better, now it's $500. Now you have 100 people per year in your membership group 5-10 years from now. Now you're making several hundred thousand a year because you say no to imposter syndrome on the live show on June 18, 2024 with Dr. Jamil and Carlos Inspire. Start to say yes to you, my friend, and stop playing small. I wish somebody would waken me to be like, post those videos and repurpose them everywhere. And Jamil, I get fired up, man, as you're talking about this, because it's so easy nowadays to stand out in a crowd where many people are playing small. It doesn't take much to stand out, guys, in any platform. You just got to show up as yourself. None of the fake until you make it BS. People are tired. I talk about this all the time on the stages. I speak multiple languages and I travel the world, and I say this: the beauty, yes, you might gonna stop somebody from scrolling it, but your personality, it will captures the heart. Just let that sink in for a minute, you know. And Jamil, my friend, tell me something. Can you explain how these mental health battles both impact personal and professional life? And before you go there, guys, this is so big. I live in Silicon Valley for over 20 years, and I spend my time between Silicon Valley, Brazil, Dubai. I'm always traveling, speaking, and spending time around my family. But I noticed in Silicon Valley, they're spending so much money since the early 2000s about this whole thing with mental health, meditation, well-being, taking those mental breaks throughout the day to keeping their employees sane and dealing with this ongoing. See, they understood. You see, corporate Fortune 50 companies, they understand. The big boys, the ones that run the entire planet. I've been studying it and serving those guys for a very long time. And I often tell you guys, understand how they think. Not just your ideal clients, but the titans that runs the planet. And they spend a lot of money, and people are like, oh, I'm a health coach or mindset coach or a meditation coach, and they think that there's not enough money there. Fortune 550 companies, Silicon Valley, spend tens of millions every year in this particular sector. And now even more because of this whole battle with mental health in the workplace increasing so much. More people unstable, more problems, more people getting fired, more, they cannot keep the employees for so long at one company. They keep moving back and forth. So this struggle is real. So for all of you guys out there, healthy coaches, meditation coaches, and naturopathic coaches, let me tell you, there's a lot of money to be made. It's understanding how to communicate and showing up in a way that the CEO listens to you, because they will bring different coaches throughout to come in and do workshops for these companies. So now, just want to pound that for a little bit over here for people that think that, oh, there isn't money in that space. Let me tell you something. So explain to us, Jamil, how these mental battles, both impacted both personal and our professional life. Let's just go a little bit more deeper into that.
Sure. And so I want everyone to think about it like this. Emotions come and go. There's all different types of emotions, things that we call positive and things that we call negative, let's say. And it's not that it's a good or a bad, it's just more of a polarity. It's two sides of the coin. Now, the question is, where do you live predominantly? Are you living in pain, in frustration, in sadness, in anger, in guilt, in fear? Or are you living in gratitude and appreciation and joy and happiness and things like that? It's not that you don't ever feel the others, but again, where do you live? Where do you spend most of your time? And so let's imagine if you're spending most of your time in anxiety, in fear, in anger, in imposter syndrome, in whatever it is that you want to call it, how do you think that's going to impact how you show up when you come home? Or if you're in a home office, when you walk out of that office and you see your spouse, you see your kids, you go out with friends, you go networking, you think it's going to impact how you communicate if the attitude is just off? When you're more of a fight or flight, when you're in stress, you're in more of a fight or flight response. When you're fight or flight, blood flow is shifting in the brain, and all of a sudden your focus is so shifted that you're not able to think creatively. You're not able to communicate effectively. You're not able to be resourceful because you're in this survival mode. So many of us, we live in, I make a distinction between old stress and new stress. Old stress, imagine way, way, way back in the day, there you are foraging for food, and you're pretty calm. You're grabbing some berries, you're doing your thing. And then it's like you hear the twig snap, and it's like a rabbit. The ears shoot up and you look and you're peering through the grass, and all of a sudden you see the lion or whatever it is. And you go into full fight or flight. All your resources go into run. And let's say you get away. I'm rooting for you. I hope you make it. So now you get away. The moment you get away though, and the animal goes away, in a brief period of time, your system returns back to balance. You return back to more of a harmony. And now you go back to doing what you were doing. That's old stress. Stress is not a bad thing. It's very useful in brief bursts. That's how it's meant to be. But we live in a world nowadays that whether it's financial stress or family stress or career stress or whatever it is that you've got going on, it's like the on switch is flipped and it stays there for most people most of the time. So now it's like that lion metaphorically is chasing you almost 24/7. There's people whose nervous systems are so like locked up right now and so tense and so high strung that even when they're trying to sleep, when you hook them up to certain machines and you test their nervous system, they're still fairly anxious and they don't get deep sleep because they don't know how to calm down. And so if you come from that space, where do I live emotionally? That's going to impact my personal life, my professional life. There's an old quote I heard years ago: your attitude determines your altitude. Like whatever your attitude is determines how high you get. And so if you can come from that space of shifting predominantly, where do I live? If I live in curiosity, if I live in presence, if I live in gratitude and joy, if I live in, this isn't an emotion, but if I live in problem solving, people want to be around me. If I live though in shame and anger and expectations and fear and, gossip, complaining, who wants to be around that? And it's like nobody. And so every one of us can relate to when I'm angry, when I'm frustrated, when I'm fearful, do I show up at my best? And it's like, no. And so does your spouse deserve that version of you? Do your kids deserve that version of you? Do your employees, your coworkers, your boss, like whoever it is, do they deserve this 3 out of 10 version of you? Do you deserve that version of you? And then finally, I'll end with the present moment is always pregnant with the next moment. So if you want a better future, a better tomorrow, the only way to create that is you need a better now. And the only way to create a better now is you have to shift how you're showing up, who you're being, especially emotionally. And when you shift that, the next moment improves. And so that's, in my mind, big picture, how it's going to impact your personal, your professional life.
Wow. I love that, my friend. I love that. You know what I mean? That's just incredible. And the next topic over here, Jimmy, that I want us to expand on is identifying some of these demons. And then you guys can use this strategy, guys, identifying the workplace. Pay attention, pay real close attention to your employees, your sales team, your customer service. You know what I mean? And the things that when you come home, how you are reacting and acting to things. Pay attention to your children, your family. I want you guys to really slow down. It's almost like, we are a Navy SEAL. We have to go very stealth, analyzing. I want you to be able to see the dust coming off the ceiling. You know what I mean? And be able to see that dust. Because when you bring that level of presence, I want you guys to identify, as I'm going to ask Jamil here, some of the common things and signs, Jamil, that people are struggling with the imposter syndrome and other health issues. What are like some of the common signs that you see? Because I'm in corporate America all the time and doing sales training, and I'm always paying attention whenever I see somebody that's overperforming, and I take that person on the side because they no longer perform how they used to. And I'm like, okay, now I bring emotional intelligence to it. Yeah. And I did a great show on emotional intelligence. I just released the episode on Monday, the 17th. Powerful, talking about how to deal with emotional intelligence in 15 seconds. As you guys know me, I love to extract the best from my guests so that you guys can walk out of here with something and go make a change in your life and your business. You guys know how I operate. For me, this is not business, it's money. Every money we raise in this show, from book sales, from channel monetization, we donate to feed families facing hunger, sex trafficking, organ trafficking. You guys know me, I'm big around those causes, about helping the Team USA athletes. I'm honored to be an advisory council member for Team USA MMA, helping them out. And I love being involved in causes helping women, single moms, veterans. And trust me, this is so important that you guys literally go in a stealth mode. Do a full audit this week and pay closer attention to your employees and your family members. Start analyzing them. And think about, as Jamil answered this question here, some of these common signs, Jamil, that you in particular, with all your training and wisdom and certifications, you are a master at this. identifying some of these signs that people are struggling with? How do you know when you sense it? This person here is actually struggling big time with imposter syndrome or other mental health issues. How do you identify that?
Yeah. So I'll answer that in two ways. And so one is outside in and the other is inside out. Only the one listening right now, only you will know the inside outside of it. And I'll share some of those. But the outside in is what others might perceive. I'll start with that. So if I'm at a party or if I'm speaking with somebody that I know, if they seem, especially if I know them to a certain degree, that I can sense a difference in them. If they seem frustrated more than normal, if they seem angry, if they seem like they lost that shine, you know, when you look somebody in the eye and you're with them in person, you can feel them.
Oh, yeah.
Energy is palpable. If somebody is normally at like a 7, an 8, a 9 out of 10 or a 10, and now they just seem to be in that like 2 to 5 range, and it's longer. We all have our moments. We all have our temporary setbacks. Like you said, people die, things happen. We have our disappointments, but where are we living? And so if something happens where somebody's just stuck for whatever the reason, they appear frustrated, they appear to get angered easily. There's not a sense of them being at ease. That to me is some of the telltale signs. Like you said, if you can actually track performance and now their performance seems to be going down, what's going on there? From an athlete's perspective, burnout is a thing. If you overtrain, your performances get worse because your body is not having the time it needs to repair, to rejuvenate, and to get stronger. You're breaking it down. You can't perform as well. Now, internally, this is what I think is actually more interesting because only the person listening is going to identify with this. So one idea of imposter syndrome, when you go to an event, a networking event, a party, wherever you're going, how do you feel when you're walking in? Do you feel like I have to put on this persona and pretend to be something more than I am, and I have to look impressive? The moment that happens, you're in imposter syndrome because you're not actually just genuinely being you. I walk into an event or a party, there's no, I need to be impressive. I'm in a room, this is my own paradigm right here. I'm in a room with other manifestations of the divine. I'm in a room with a bunch of souls right now who all have their goals, their dreams, they have their insecurities, their fears, and I'm just here to be a loving presence and to help any way that I can. There's no, I got to impress you. If we're in a conversation and you resonate with me and you want to do work, awesome. If not, awesome. I wish you the best. I love you anyway. But I wasn't always like that. I used to have the imposter syndrome for sure. And so when you come from that space of, am I trying to be something versus just being? The trying to is what gets us in trouble. And so internally, there's that. There's what I said earlier. You look yourself in the mirror when you wake up in the morning. It's Monday morning. It's whatever the day is. You're preparing for your day. Are you excited? Because I said earlier with my story with my dad, today's a gift. You might not have tomorrow. So the Steve Jobs quote, he gave a Stanford commencement speech. And he said, every day I wake up, I look myself in the mirror and I ask myself the question, if today were my last day on this earth, would I want to do what I'm about to do? And if the answer is no, too many days in a row, I know something needs to change. In that same way, when you look at yourself in the mirror, when you're doing the work you're about to do, it's like when I clicked the link Carlos sent me to join this, I was like, all right, let's do this. Not, oh shit, like, why do I got to do this right now? What is the emotion? Like, where are you? What's the internal, think of it like your inner conscious, your spirit. It talks to you, but it whispers. Most of us don't hear it because we're distracted. That's one of the reasons why most people are uncomfortable with silence. Because when it gets quiet, the inner voice gets loud. And when the inner voice gets loud, that disparity between the life you could be living that you believe you should be and the life you are living becomes so palpable and so real that it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. And so they don't want to face that. So they drown it out with music. They drown it out with always doing stuff. Can you be by yourself? Can you be in your own presence in quiet solitude and be completely at peace? I can stare at a wall for 3 hours and be in bliss. And that's not some special thing with me. We all can do that. But can you do that because you're so content with yourself? Can you do that because you've reached such a level of peace? You've released, as Carlos calls it, the demons. You've released all the stuff that does not serve you, that's not in alignment with the real you. And then you're identifying, why am I here? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Is this in alignment with who I choose to be, the life that I choose to experience? If the answers to those questions are no, That's why you feel the way you feel when you look in the mirror. That's why you walk into a room and you feel like you have to pretend to be something other than what you really are. Nobody likes the. I remember being at a networking event. This is years ago. I lived in Arizona, and I walk into this room. It's all these people. Now I showed up from the perspective of I just want to connect with these people and meet them and learn what they're all about. And I remember this one woman, she walks up to me and she's got the fanny pack with all of her business cards, very professional, like networker. And I'm like, hi. And before I even get a sentence out, she just whips out the card and hands it to me. And then I'm like, oh, thank you. And I look at it and I start looking at it and I ask her some questions about it. And then she's talking all about herself. And then she just, great to meet you, and walks away. She doesn't ask me a single thing. She doesn't try to connect with me at all. Now, why is someone doing that? Because I know Carlos always talks about it's not about the acquisition, right? It's about the, what is it?
It's not about the mission. It's not about the commission. It's about the mission. It's not about the acquisition. It's the contribution.
That's it. Yeah. And so with that in mind, if you show up to contribute and you're at peace with who you are, life has a way of working out beautifully, because life serves what serves life. If you show up and you're competent, keep this in mind, you got to be good at what you do. But if you show up and you're competent and then you show up authentic, that's such a rare combination nowadays, because most people have been like conditioned out of being authentic. If you're being authentic and you're competent at what you do and you genuinely care, people feel that, they give you a shot because you're competent, you hit it out of the park and you do great work. And then they refer to you and they want to work with you, and everything takes care of itself. And so to bring it all together, where are you living? Something you wanted to say, Carlos?
I was gonna say something here because this just hit me. So many. Think about, guys, some of your biggest celebrity fans, athletes, movie stars, musicians. Imagine meeting them right now in your community. Let's say they're doing, like a nonprofit. They happen to be in your town, and you meeting them right now. What would be the first thing that you would say to the person? Is it a selfie? Is how are you? Do you have no idea how some of them right now they suffer with this battle to the point that some of them are suicidal, because most people, 99.9%, it's like, go for the selfie. Dude, this is your fan. This is somebody that you admire, that you love. Have you ever just think about it, right? Just stop for a second and say it instead, hey, how you really doing today? How's your mental health? How you been? How you really been? Tell them. You seem a little off. I mean, is everything okay? Like, if I would be your best friend, somebody that you trust, and then you're gonna block them. I always joke with you guys when I meet celebrities. I go and I blow the whistle. I don't do that all the time. I actually connect with them like a normal person. That's why I build long lifetime friendships with many of my celebrity clients. They are now clients of mine, people that are confident. I don't have to go through managers or through their lawyers. I can call and ask for a favor. Hey, I'm going to be at this event in LA, in whatever. You want to come and hang out? Hell yeah, Carlos. Because they miss that. They miss hanging out, going to a bar, going to a movie theater, going somewhere so simple. Let's go play, miniature golf. Let's go. They miss the stuff, because everybody that comes to them is for something, versus you add value to the person. And I really want you guys to think about this, guys, because let's say if you have a podcast and you want to have more celebrities, some of the people that you love, that you are a fan, how about if you reach out to them on social and just check on them? Hey, how you doing? How can I add some value to your life? Do it in a video so they see it's genuine. It's you. It's coming from the heart. You're not in your head, because if you're in your head, you are dead. So as you are talking here to me, that just came in, and I have these things with me. If I get a download, I got to go in the moment and talk about it, because it's so important. But continue, brother, because I want you to also go deep here with our audience about, as we continue identifying these battles, these demons, whatever you guys want to call it. How can somebody, Jamil, that right now, whatever level of their life they are, how can they identify this specific, like maybe mental health challenges or battles, and understanding the root causes? Yeah. What are some of the things that you would have them to identify? Maybe they're listening to us right now. I'm okay, or maybe I am fired up, but so in a way that every person, independent of what level they are, what are some of the things that they can use to identify some of these mental health challenges and understanding the root causes.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share that. And I want to share one more thing before that. It's something that people can start doing right now. There goes the charger. Something people can start doing right now that's so important. Stop pedestalizing people. Because the moment you put somebody on a pedestal, in this case, maybe you identify them as a celebrity or a whatever, and you say they're up here, for anyone visually, my hand's up here, but if you're audio only, raising my hand up in the air, they're up here and I'm only down here. But the moment you say someone's above you, that means you also put some people below you. And because now it goes in both directions, you've got people that you believe are better than you, and then you've got people that you believe you're better than, and then you got people that now you think you're less than, etc. That messes everything up. What Carlos just talked about is spot on. People are people. Especially the people that seem to get the most attention in our society because of their money or their fame or their whatever. They have a life that's so not what a human being is normally going to have, that they're starving for just a regular human connection. Somebody runs up to you and they treat you like, let's take a photo so I could sell it. That's a very different mindset of a genuine, how are you doing? I'd love to just get to know you. That's a very different perspective. And so if you stop pedestalizing people, imposter syndrome starts to go away.
Yes.
I wanted to share that as just a practical tool people can use just in this episode, because check yourself. Who are the people right now that when you think about, like Carlos said, if you met them today for whatever the reason, it would be weird for you. It would be awkward. I don't know what to say. But you don't say that if your friend introduces you to some other friend and you're just meeting them. You just shake their hand and get to know them. But that's not any different than if they were a billionaire. What if you didn't know what their bank account was? What if you never, I remember when I was probably 19 years old, I've been studying Tony Robbins' work since I was 15. He was one of my first mentors in this space. And I remember I'm in medical school. I'm 24, and people were asking me, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, take Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, Dr. Oz, smack them all together, and that's kind of some variation of what I want to do." And it was fascinating that people were like, "Who's Tony Robbins?" And granted, in my world, it's he's a big deal, but and even in that language, notice it's pedestalizing, but it's he's a big deal in the sense that he's well known. He's helped 1 billion plus people, all these things. And here are these people who had never heard of him. And so no matter who you are, there's people who have no idea who you are. I could say, Warren Buffett, and there's people who go, "Who's that?" And yet if you're in the investing space, financial space, you know who that is. And so what I'm getting at is this over grandizement or this over pedestalization, this people are so far ahead of me that I'm not even willing to reach out and send them a message. I'm not even willing to say hello. I'm not even willing to contribute in whatever way I can. You see someone that you look up to in the street. What if you just walked up and say, "Hey, I just want you to know you've made a big difference in my life. I really appreciate you. I hope you're having a great day. And I don't want to take too much of your time. Thank you so much." Why do you got to take? What if you just came to give? And if you just come to give, people often want to give back to you, but it doesn't always happen the first time. Usually doesn't. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is identifying the root cause, like you said, of what's actually going on. So there's different nuances to this. I'll start with how I do it, and then I'll expand it out to how someone could do it potentially on their own. Everyone I work with, for the most part, I do deep mental and emotional release work before we even start any of the coaching. And the reason I use a construction metaphor, if we want to make a skyscraper that represents your goals, your dreams, it's big. It's as big as you want it to be. What happens if you've got this 10,000 story building and you've got a foundation that's 8 feet made of sand? The building's going to fall. So the bigger the skyscraper, the deeper the foundation needs to be, which means if you don't excavate out all the BS, all the belief systems, right? If you don't excavate out all of these beliefs that do not serve you, that sabotage your success, if you don't get rid of the stuck emotional energy, there's anger, there's sadness, there's fear, hurt, guilt, shame, anxiety, things that have been in your nervous system, locked in there for decades. And if you don't let that go, it's going to sabotage you in some respect, in some area of your life. When you think about the different areas, you've got your relationships, your finances, your career, your physical health. That's like your nutrition, your fitness, your mental, emotional health, your spirituality, contribution, career, etc. All these different areas. Who you are is impacting all of them. So there's an old expression, how you do one thing is how you do everything, because how you are showing up, who you're being, if who I'm being is angry, frustrated, and impatient, my finances suffer, my relationship suffers, everything suffers if I'm being that. So in that same way, somebody comes to me and they say, all right, this is my goal, my dream. Can you help me make it real? Well, let's first talk about why you want it. And let's also talk about why you don't have it already. And the why you don't have it already, what's in the way? If anyone listening right now, get a piece of paper. What's your goal? What do you want? Write it out. Now, what are all the reasons why you don't have it right now? And why is that? And why is that? And why is that? When you keep diving into it, eventually you get to some fears that come up. Some things come up of, well, I don't have it because I haven't reached out to that person. Why? Because I'm afraid that A, B, and C. Where did that fear come from? And you keep diving in, and eventually you get to this root, which almost always, it's different for everybody, but the top maybe 5 to 7 that I've seen, let's see if I can get it from memory. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I don't matter. I'm not lovable. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not whatever enough. These are the greatest hits. These are the things that sabotage us. If you want to call them demons, these are the main. This is like the 4 horsemen. This is like the most dangerous things that sabotage all of our success. But identifying it is only so helpful, because you can identify it, but it's still there. So that's not that helpful. It's helpful if you know how to let it go. And so that's the work I do with people in the beginning, where we do the deep emotional release work and we get into the subconscious mind. And when I do this work, I combine hypnosis into it, energy work to release. And when I'm diving into this person's subconscious with them and we're releasing it, it is so incredible that I'll give you an example. I had a person, he had it was a client of mine, crippling social anxiety his whole life. He also had this deep-seated belief from childhood that he wasn't good enough, despite the fact that in the real estate space, he was a monster. Like, this guy would close 7, 8, 9-figure deals. He was a master negotiator. He could get anything that he wanted in negotiation. So professional life, monster in the best possible way. In his personal life, couldn't set a boundary, couldn't stand up for himself, got walked all over because he had these beliefs. We do the release work, and it took about 2 weeks. We finished it on a Friday. Saturday, he has his own company, all these people. He had this like corporate event. Normally, he doesn't go, or he's all the way in the corner because he doesn't want to be around people, and he tries to get out as quickly as he can. I get a message from him hours into the day on Saturday, and he calls me Doc, and he goes, Doc, something was different to me today, and I couldn't put my finger on it, and then I realized I've been the life of the party the entire day. Everyone's been around me, and I feel so at peace. All the anxiety's gone. Fast forward 6 weeks, he goes, I have heard I love you more from my wife and my kids more in the last 6 weeks than I have in the last 6 years. Fast forward a year, and this happened in between, it wasn't the whole year. He now sets his boundaries. He enforces it. He's just as powerful in his personal life that he is in his professional, and he got his real self back. Now, he identified in our work early on what were those challenges and problems. But whoever's listening, you're smart. If you could just outthink it, you would have done that already. It's not a conscious process. It's an unconscious process. You can't get to it with your conscious mind. And when you remove it and you get rid of it, then we alchemize. And what I mean by that is, let's say you've got the belief, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not this. I don't believe in affirmations. I believe in declarations. And the difference is that an affirmation is something that you just say. I am the greatest dad in the world. Well, beautiful. But you're stacking that on top of all the beliefs about why you're not. And so if you don't do the work and you just come up with some affirmations and you say them, you're actually you're driving deeper into your nervous system, the opposite. Because there you are saying like, I am successful. And the voice in your head goes, bullshit. And it goes, no, you're not. Or it's like, I am very patient and loving. You weren't that way yesterday, you know? And so all these thoughts come up and you're sabotaging yourself. But when you do the emotional release work first, you free yourself from the mental, the emotional baggage, the demons, like Carlos says it, you release them, then we alchemize. And now something that's genuine from your heart, from your spirit comes through. And now you have a list of 5, 10, 50 statements that are your new state of being that you've cultivated consciously. I have one of those, takes about 6 minutes for me to tell you who I am. And then from that space, it's like, this is who I am. And every day, all my clients have one. Every day, that's how you live. That's your North Star. That's your blueprint. You build on that. I was just on a podcast the other day, and somebody said, if I need to make a change, what do I need to do? And it's like, I told them, that's the wrong question. That question comes second. The first question is, who do I need to be? Because who you're being, everything stems from that. And so to bring it all together now, first, take people off the pedestal, because just by doing that, imposter syndrome starts to go away. Then remember who you really are, who I am, who I'm being. Who I'm being could always be better. There's nothing personal about that. It's just feedback. I'm doing something, I get a certain feedback, I get certain results. Is it the result I want? If it's not, then I missed something. I wasn't good enough to create the result. I didn't communicate it the way that I could have. I was missing a certain skill, a brick in my bridge. It wasn't complete. Once I figure it out, I can do better. And then we say, okay, how do I identify what my challenges are? Well, think about it deep down. When you think about the I'm not good enough, I don't matter, I'm not worthy, whatever these statements might be, or you might have your own. You might already know what it is. What is the belief I have about myself deep down that I'm afraid to admit? What's the belief that at my core, it just feels like it's kind of always been there? That's it. That's what we call the core wound. That's what we call the greater problem. When you can identify that, and in my case, with my clients, let's say I help you let that go. Now the excavation's complete. Then we get a new identity. We get your values clear, so you know what's actually important to you. You map all your decisions on your values. You know who you want to be. You know where you want to go, and you know how you want to get there. And then from that space, we build. But doing coaching without doing the release work first, I'm just setting you up for failure later, because we're going to get to a point where the I'm not good enough is going to show up, and that's going to stop you from taking action. And so just get clear. Why am I not where I think I should be? What's actually holding me back? And in the beginning, it'll be excuses. I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't know how to do that. But why not? And why not? And why not? And at some point you hit, you strike gold. And when you've got that, like, that's where the work is to be done.
Oh man, this is so much golden, my brother. And I knew you're gonna bring it in, and because it's so important, as you are saying here, this is one of my secrets, right? Is going deep into emotional intelligence with individuals. Whenever I'm running like a workshop for a couple of hours for a Fortune 50 company, it's going deep. And a lot of these people out there in consulting companies, they come in, they don't go that deep. They try to come in, okay, here we have this perception. They think that they know what you need. Like, no. You gotta go deep into the emotional intelligence in the subconscious mind. You guys know me. I'm big in bypassing the shield, right? The conscious debates, hesitates, perceives, judging. No. Let's get to the subconscious, where at times he's saying yes and didn't even understand why I even saying yes, right? Going that deep within the subconscious mind, applying emotional intelligence and tools and strategies, things that the Muse are talking about, and going way deeper. You guys have no idea the power of that and what that can do for your entire organization. It's so much. Wow, man. I love it, brother. And Jamil, tell me something. Can you share like a simple exercise that our listeners can do at home or at work to combat anxiety and stress? If this thing has been piling on them since 2020 and it hasn't gone away, and they were not this way, and since COVID, because they were cooked up for so long, they didn't went back to the workspace, or even if they went back and it's still bothering them. For somebody that's been dealing with anxiety and stress ongoing for years and years and years, can you share a simple exercise, even though you and I know it doesn't go away, right? It diminishes it. We become better at dealing with, but what is a simple exercise that they can start applying right now, today, before they go to sleep tonight after listening to the show, or if they are listening at night before they go to bed, an exercise, even a quick break in the middle of the working day, if they are like in a high stress, working in high pressure environment?
Yeah, man. So I'm going to share one exercise, but I'm also going to share like rapid fire a couple things that everyone can do that would really help. So keep in mind that everyone's different, everyone's unique. Obviously, on a podcast like this, I'm giving very general information and very general things that I would not necessarily share if it was you I was speaking to one-on-one, because what you need might be different, like Carlos was just saying. But big picture, just as a human being, especially if you live in a city, if you live somewhere where there's a lot of commotion, there's a lot of stuff going on. People are like I live in New York. I'm about 40 minutes north of the city, so I'm more of a suburb area. But my girlfriend lives in the city, and when I go to the city, I can see it's a very different world. One thing to visit, different to live there. And if you live there and you feel a lot of anxiety, you feel a lot of stress, you're just surrounded by buildings all the time. One of the quickest ways to calm down is get into nature. One of the quickest ways to calm down is get your shoes off and get your feet in the grass. It's called grounding, earthing. You go on YouTube, type in earthing documentary. It'll change your whole life. It's like a 2-hour documentary by a guy named Clint Ober. It gives you all the science of it. But you ground with no shoes on. You're in nature. In Japan, they call it Shinrin Yoku. It's called forest bathing. You just being in the woods, you being in the forest, you being at least surrounded by some trees. It calms your nervous system down. It makes it easier to breathe, easier to relax. And so if you're feeling it, one of the quickest ways, take the shoes off, get some sunlight, get some fresh air. Are you hydrated? Are you eating, like, what's your diet like? Are you eating foods that are causing inflammation? Are you eating foods that you're actually sensitive to? Not necessarily allergic, but you've got a food sensitivity, which is actually agitating the nervous system and creating a lot of inflammation in your body. Oftentimes depression, not always, but often it's caused by inflammation in the brain. And diet can do that. A lot of things can do that, but that's one of them. Next thing to really be with. So we've got the grounding, we got that. You mentioned meditation earlier. Meditation, breath work, something as simple as just close your eyes, sit up straight, breathe in through your nose for about 3 to 4 seconds, breathe out through your mouth for about 6 to 8. Now notice, I'm going to attempt to do this right now. You may or may not hear my breathing. So I'll breathe loudly. So I'm going to go in for 3, out for 6 to 8. Any chance the breath came through, Carlos?
Yep.
Awesome. Because it doesn't always pick up. Okay. So the exhale, it's not you let it all out. It's slow and controlled. And when it's slow and controlled, you're able to relax the nervous system. Close your eyes. Maybe you put headphones in. And by putting the headphones in, you have some music to relax you. Your eyes are closed. You have an eye mask, or one of those, darker. And now you've got this relaxation. Do that for 30 seconds. Do that for 2 minutes. Take a 5-minute break in the middle of your workday and do that. It's like a reset for your nervous system. So these are some really simple, practical things that anyone can do. Every one of those are free. I'm pretty sure that I said you're already spending money on food. Just spend it on some different stuff. Going outside is free. Going for a walk is free. There's all these things you can do right now to begin making some positive changes. Another one is to slow down. Remember how far you've come. There's where you are now, and there's where you've been up until this point. And if you imagine it like an alphabet, A to Z, A is where you started, and Z is where you want to end up. Z is what you call your goal, your dream. And you're at D, and you're beating yourself up for not being at Z yet. You're treating it like a binary. Am I there? Yes or no? And then the answer is always no. But you're not remembering that when you were at A, D was your dream. Like you would have loved to be at D when you were at A. But for whatever the reason, you're forgetting that. If you slow down and you keep perspective, I tell my clients all the time, slow down to speed up. If you slow down, you ground yourself in the perspective, how far you've come, that's where the gratitude comes in. That's where the appreciation comes in. You can't be grateful and angry at the same time. You're not going to be pissed off and joyful at the same time. It doesn't happen. And so if you can ground yourself in an emotional state that'll serve you, that's a big thing. And the last thing is the exercise. I want to do the other ones as some quick things you can do. This is an exercise I share with clients pretty frequently. If you want to, let's say, create the life that you're wanting, take the action that you're not taking, there's 2 things you have to do. You have to reduce fear and you have to raise courage. And now the question is, how do I do that? There's 2 sides to it. I'll start on the fear side. How do you reduce fear? I tell all my clients that there's 2 types of fear. There's rational fear and there's irrational fear. Rational fear keeps you alive. Irrational fear prevents you from living. And so a rational fear is jumping out of a plane without a parachute. That's a rational fear. You should listen to that one. If you want to be alive, like that's a helpful one to let stop you. But then there's irrational fear, which is like, I'm afraid to ask that person on a date. I'm afraid to public speak. I'm afraid of this, of this, of that, because what if they don't like me? Like that's an irrational fear that's going to prevent you from living your life. That's living in the what ifs, especially things that are very unlikely. So first is it rational or irrational? Most of the time it's irrational. If it's rational, listen to it. But if it's irrational, then you go, okay, is it possible or is it probable? Now, meaning, is that fear likely to happen? Is it possible? Always possible. But now let's imagine I say, Carlos, I haven't left my house in 3 years. And if you said, why not? And I say, well, I'm afraid. And you might say, afraid of what? What if I walk outside and a meteor hits me in the face? Is that possible? Yes, it is. Now, what is the probability, though, of that happening? There's so many zeros after that decimal point that me allowing that probability to stop me is not a smart move in the life I want to live. So first, is it rational, irrational? Most of the time, what's stopping you is irrational. Is it possible or probable? It's going to be on the probable side, and it's going to be almost zero, almost always. And even if it's low, it could be 5%, 10%, 20%. What could you do right now? What actions could you take to mitigate that risk, mitigate the likelihood? There's always something you can do. And then the last part is this. Once you get it as low as you can get it, what can you do to be okay with the worst case scenario? Meaning, if I'm afraid something's going to happen, the reason why that's scary for me is I don't want it to happen, and I believe I can't handle it. Like Carlos said earlier, you survived 100% of your worst days. Same idea. If I've got this problem and I'm afraid of it, it owns me. But the moment I say, you know what, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen. And if it did happen anyway, I'd figure it out. I'd be okay. Now at that point, when you take it all the way to the ultimate, like the worst case scenario, and you realize I'd still be okay regardless. Even if I lost all my money, I lost my house, I was on the street with my family under a bridge. They can't take away what you've learned, who you've become, your network, things like that. You're going to build it back. It's not comfortable. It's not what your preference is, but you'd be okay. And the moment you recognize that, so much of the fear either just completely goes away or it dramatically reduces. That's the first side. Second side is courage. How do you raise courage? Most people are willing to do more for the people they care about than just themselves. And so why are you wanting to do what you're wanting to do? How specifically will your life get better? And how specifically will the lives of the people you care most about, how will they be positively improved? The more you stack that side, the more momentum you're going to get, the more desire you're going to enhance in you to take the action. And when desire goes up and fear goes down, you do it.
Wow, incredible. What an incredible answer, my friend. We're having so much good time. I didn't even realize we were going to stick within 1 hour as I have a meeting 2 minutes and we are at 1 hour and 12 minutes, but it's so good. As you guys know, I cannot leave my friend over here off the hook until I ask him this final question that I ask every guest that been in this show. And the final question of this incredible episode, my friend, that you and I will take to the grave is your eulogy. You are 100 years old and all your loved ones are there listening and celebrating you for all that you have accomplished in your lifetime. And it's going to be a part where your best friend's going to come on the mic. He's going to have to read it. And he's going to say, Dr. Jamil Sayegh was ... In your own words, who was Dr. Jamil Sayegh?
To respect your meeting, I'll make this quick. Dr. Jamil Sayegh was a person who helped me remember who I really am, who helped me find my own greatness within me so that I could live the life that I was always capable of. He lived from love. He lived without regrets. And he lived a life. And he lived a life that he was proud of.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have my great friend, Dr. Jamil Sayegh. You guys can check him out at jamilsayegh.com. And Jamil, any final words, best places that you hang out on social media where they can continue this conversation and listen to your wisdom? You have an incredible podcast, but what are the places you hang out on social?
Thank you so much, Carlos. Yes, so on Instagram, it's at Dr. Jamil Sayegh, DR in my name. Facebook and LinkedIn, it's just Jamil Sayegh. My podcast, Transformation, starts today. And over the last 8 years or so, I've put out a little bit over 1,000 pieces of content. And most of it is very short, actionable, just give you a quick hit for today that's going to help you. You can check it all out there. Thank you so much, Carlos, for this opportunity to serve your community. It's always amazing anytime I get to be with you. And all my love to all of our listeners. And I recommend you listen to this again because you're not the same person you were now that you were at the beginning. And you're going to get way more from it. And please share it with anyone you believe this can help.
Amen. Amen. Guys, you know the drill, right? We bring incredible guests for years and years and years on these live episodes on our shows, and everything is free. The way how you can help us, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on that bell, drop a comment below, tag somebody here that needs to listen to this today, because some of the things that we share here, and you can start applying and be more aware and present within your company, your house, it can create a significant lasting change on what is about your happiness and the greatness that you attract to your job, to your family, your career, and everybody around you. So I appreciate you all. As I always love to say, life is all about the mission, never the commission. And whenever you feel like giving up, understand that the days that breaks us are truly the days that makes us. Much love.